Hello, Jen.
Hi, Jessie.
How are you?
Great.
You avoided the podcast for a year, and now we have reeled you back in.
Oh my God, it's been a year.
It's literally been a year. Well, almost, because I think the last couple we recorded was like right after Ed Mercer.
Yeah,
Isn't that crazy?
that is
It
crazy.
came up on my stories actually earlier today, and I can't remember which episode it was.
Okay, I thought we took like a 6-week hiatus.
No, it's been a long time. And just so everyone knows, we've had it like on our calendar. We have been pushing it on the calendar for a year.
Yeah.
Like, no joke. So we're back, and we're very excited to be back. We've adjusted a couple things, and we're trying to change up the format. We all know I'm long-winded, so we'll see. But we're trying to make it a little bit shorter format so that it's easier to listen in sound bites, but TBD.
Well, you promised me a 10-minute podcast.
Yeah, that's not happening today, but we'll try. We're very excited. We're working on a really exciting part of the collective that focuses on personal branding, and we'll share a lot more soon. But what we're starting with today is talking about reasons why it's important, and like what parts of that program are important. And part of that will be like visualization.
You're being
And
so cryptic.
what? I'm trying to tease it. Is this a bad tease? Should we just tell them what we're doing?
You know me, I don't like a tease.
Oh, okay. Well, we're doing a program where you can make a personal brand for yourself, and it's really fucking incredible, and we're very excited about it.
I think it's a game changer. I feel like it's always good when you create something that you then are like, oh, I want to take this myself.
Yeah, we're like still creating, and now like we're creating it off of experience, and yet we still like all want to do it.
Yeah.
Like everyone that's in it, it's like, I need to do this right now. I think especially post-pandemic and everything. And yeah, we're very excited about it. And so the next couple episodes will be focused on different aspects of that program, and also like sharing why we think these things are important. And yeah, anything else to add?
Yeah. I want to add why we're doing this.
Yeah.
Something that you said really stuck with me.
Mm-hmm.
You said it's almost 2023.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone knows you before they actually meet you.
Yeah. And they should know you.
And they should know you.
Like the real you before they meet you.
And even though we work in the industry, I was thinking to myself, oh my gosh, is everything curated the way I would want?
Yeah, I think that, and we actually have an episode coming up. I can't remember exactly what we're calling it, but it's about like why you need a personal brand.
Yes.
But I think it's so important that like people don't even realize like you have a personal brand.
Yeah, you already have one.
Whether you're doing, anything to curate it or not. So it's really about like whether you're in control of the narrative. And I think that that's super important. And we'll talk through a little bit about like how like the different ways you might not even realize it's affecting you and affecting your life. Not to be like scare you, but I hope it scares you a little bit into taking our course, because it really is phenomenal. Not to toot our own horns, but it's really, really good. So yeah, today we want to talk about like why visualizing what you want is important. Jen and I both in our careers have used visualization so much. It's funny because like, I don't know, both of us, maybe me, I feel like I'm more like a little more in the clouds, but like when you said this.
No, Jessie.
You said this, you were like, yeah, I've like visualized like, kind of like different steps in my career. And I was like, oh, wow.
Always. I used to do it a lot more.
I did too. And I think that like, and one of the things that we address in this program is as you get older and like get more responsibility and like kind of like life becomes a little bit more serious, I think it becomes harder to dream, and therefore harder to think about what you want, because you have all these like very real limitations, like a mortgage or like kids or, whatever
or
it is.
someone telling you that they just pooped their pants. Yeah. You got to help them.
Totally. And it's like, you just don't have the time and you don't have the space. And, sometimes it's easier to dream like before you've like accomplished things or you're on a certain path. But I think that we just really want to inspire people to not think that like your path is created for you. You know what I mean? Like you can adjust and change and pivot to make sure that you are like living a life that is on purpose and that is like aligned with like who you are, what you want to be, and your values.
And to me, it's not even that you can do that. It's you have to.
I agree. Yeah. So we'll start with visualization. I think like the word manifestation has become,
It triggers you.
I don't know if it's triggering. It's just like it's become really annoying, honestly. Like there are a lot of people that use it. Like I feel like I've like maybe it's because I was like I felt like I was an early adopter of manifestation. Like I feel like I've been like doing
Oh, here we
manifestation.
go.
I've been doing manifestation exercises since I was like 15. I was like, I'm like, I like love a good self-help book. Not like a bad, annoying one. Like, I won't name names because, like, maybe this podcast blows up and I don't want
Yeah,
to
please
be
don't get us canceled before
ragging
we
on
get
anyone.
started.
But I felt like I feel like a lot of people have like entered this space and have like presented it in a way that does not resonate with people or doesn't acknowledge your privilege or doesn't like acknowledge a lot of roadblocks for a lot of people.
Mhm.
It's like, to be honest, wealthy white women that are like, yeah, and then if you just manifest this, it'll come true. And it's like, well, you had a lot of help in life,
Yeah.
you know. And that's I think why it's like a little bit triggering to me and others and what I've heard. But I do think that there is like because of that and because of like the woo-woo-ness of all of it, sometimes I think people are like, put a crystal on your forehead. And I'm like, ooh, like that's not where we're going with this. That's not part of our program. Um, I mean, like, great if crystals work for you.
I'm more of just a positive mental attitude kind of
Yeah,
person.
exactly, and I think that I always say, like, with manifestation or goals or whatever it is, like, really, it's kinda like religion, like, when you really, like, break it all down, it all kinda means the same thing, like, whatever
Oh
your
god,
path
now
is,
we're
that's how
going
you get
after the
there.
religious groups today.
I'm not, I said it's all the same, like, it's all, like, has the same kinda, like, this and that. Anyway, so, why visualizing what you want is important before I go down a religious rabbit hole and really piss people off. I think one of the best ways to like start with this is to talk about the placebo effect because I
Mhm.
think it's something that people are very familiar with. And I always like to ground in science. Like I love woo woo stuff. I love, I subscribe to a lot of it, but I do think that like science is like a good place to ground because it's like, well, if there's like a pretty legit research study, like or multiple done on something, then like you can't really argue with that. Um, facts are friendly.
That's what I always say.
That's what Jen always says. So let's talk about the placebo effect a little bit and like how this relates. So the placebo effect like focuses on the relationship between your mind and your body, right? Like that's what the research around it has focused on, which like obviously all of this does too. One of the most common theories is that the placebo effect is due to a person's expectations. If a person expects a pill to do something, 20 times in a row, I won $1 million. That might not be it for you, but like a lot of this is proven. And if you actually put the work into it and like make sure that you are like fighting like negative mindsets and visualizing what you want. Like I always think that it's much easier to get somewhere when you have like a map of where you're going.
Right.
And like it doesn't have to be a direct map, like a turn left here, turn right there, but like it's like at least directions. I always like some people don't even know if they're going east or west, like and so I think that that's like a really interesting. By the way, I am taking some of this from articles and we will link everything in the show notes if you'd like to read more. If you're like, wow, you sound smart, it's because I'm reading some of it verbatim. So yeah, I think that that's just like a really interesting like when you think about like the effect the mind has on the body and when we talk about visualization, like how does that all like come down to actually working when you think about like a vision board, which we'll talk a little bit more about later, like how does that all play out in your life? And it's because like what you think and like your thoughts actually have a real effect on like what actually happens and how your brain chemistry starts working. And I know that you have some interesting things to say about brain chemistry and how that all works.
Yeah, so it allows your subconscious to focus. And specifically, that network of neurons is called your reticular activating system. So, also known as the RAS system. I get nervous whenever I share medical things
Yeah.
because all of my high school friends are in the medical
Oh
field.
no.
And I
That's
feel like they'll
scary.
just smother me.
I know. We'll cite our sources for all of this. Like, I think that like I've known all this, but I'm a big like I want to cite my sources for everything. So we have like looked up all of this and we'll cite our sources. We're not just talking out of our ass, I promise.
But I think what is, to your point, what's most important is that when you allow your brain to focus on one thing,
Mhm.
subconsciously, you're constantly working towards that.
Yes. Yeah. And it's like it literally says that like your subconscious. And that's where I think it's like people are like, it's not like woo woo. It's like when you actually look at it, it's like when you tell your brain, like, this is what we're focusing on, right? Then
Mhm.
like your brain starts seeing things and opportunities that you might have missed before because you're just like going on with daily life. But like, something pops up or like this is such a random example, but like maybe a like mutual friend pops up on LinkedIn, of someone and they're like, "Do you know this person?" And like all of a sudden, because you're thinking through like this is your vision and you know where you're going, that you're like, "Oh, that's really interesting. They work at this place. Like, I wonder if they know someone or if they could help me or if I could get an introduction." Whereas if you aren't clear about where you're going and you haven't like done any visualization and understood like what you want next, then it becomes a thing where like you're not seeing these little pings. You're not seeing
Yeah.
like the smaller things and then you're missing them. So it's
Mhm.
not so much that like it's this like big woo woo thing. It's just like your subconscious is saying, "Oh, this is important. You should pay attention to this because like you keep telling me, like remember this visualization that we did? Like you told me you wanted this." And like that's interesting because like this is aligned with that. Should we like talk about this? Should we go towards this? So I think that that's like an interesting way to
So
think of it all.
I've always personally found too that when I have visualized what I want, my mind is more settled in general.
Mhm.
And a lot of this has come from owning like our own, and then I know I started before, like my own business. Ever
Mhm.
since I've worked for myself,
Yeah.
my brain does front flips all the time in terms
Yes.
of like what's next.
Yep.
And when I'm thinking through what I'm visualizing,
Mhm.
everything settles a bit
Totally.
because it's out there, and then it's just a function of intentionally moving forward.
Yeah. I also think that like that just triggered for me like when you work for yourself, it is so easy to want to say yes to absolutely
I was
everything.
just going to say it makes it easier to say no.
Yes, and it's especially I mean when you're starting out, but even it doesn't really matter. I think that like
No,
there's
once a quarter
always
I always say we're going out of
yes.
business.
We're not. But like it's like you just want to say yes and like it's like people are like, "What do you do?" And you're like, "What do you need?"
Yeah.
It's kind of like this,
Yeah.
well, anything. Do you have money? You
Yeah.
know, not actually we're in a very good place, but like yeah, I think that that's like there is this like
But I love that about us though, because we have done extremely well for ourselves and like built a business throughout the pandemic
yeah,
and have been fortunate to build something that's nationwide because of the way
right.
we launched. At the same time, both of us are always so humble in the
Yes.
sense that we're like always thinking about where's the next client coming from?
Yeah.
Are we serving that client well enough?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. There's no arrogance to our
Totally.
work style.
Totally. No, and I agree, but I also think that like the more we've gotten clear on our vision and what
Yeah.
we want and what we're working towards, the more we've been like, no, like this opportunity just isn't for us, even if
Mhm.
there is money in it, even if they're, like, and also like saying no to things we don't really believe in, like not
Yeah.
even like on a moral level, but just like we don't think your company is going to work. So like, we're not going to allow you to waste your money with us.
Yeah. So one of us clearly gives the new business development feedback.
We'll let you guess who that is. Um, so yeah, I just think that that's like a big thing when you're owning your own business, but really just any time in life, like understanding when to say no. And I think it's so much easier. And we have a great in our workbook. We have a great. It's the personal brand. It's like basically like the kickoff workbook that we'll link in the show notes. And this is like the thing that we were like we all need to do this ASAP. But it's a whole thing where you like look through your values and like compare it to your calendar. And I think that it's so powerful
Hmm.
and making sure that like you are doing what you want to be doing or at least working towards that and being intentional about it. And
And figuring out how you can say no to something so that you can be more intentional.
yes,
Because I think a
exactly.
lot of times it's about getting things off your plate.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think that sometimes like I was reading this great book that I'm forgetting, like 40 something, like 4,000 hours or something. It's like that's how many hours you have in your life or something. It's not.
Oh my God, that's so depressing.
Maybe it's worth it. Yeah, anyway, it's like something crazy where it's like basically you only have a limited amount of time, and I think that so many of us get in this like hamster wheel where you're like, and as soon as I finish all the work on my plate, then I will do X. Like then I
Yeah.
will like continue take care of myself, whatever it is, make more time for friends and like basically the book's like So that hamster wheel doesn't go away.
Yeah.
Like there's no, it's funny. You'll appreciate this. One of the one of the parts of the book that was like an example was like your email inbox, and it talks about how people that are really good at keeping inbox zero get more emails than people who aren't. So it's like you kind of just continue, like the better you are, the faster you are with answering emails, the more emails you get.
Mhm.
The more accessible you are in email, the
How many emails do you have right now?
we're not going to talk about it. That's neither
No,
here
I
nor
think you should
there.
pull it up. How many emails do you have in the inbox?
Which
I'll tell you
inbox?
mine.
0.
Your marketing one.
You have one
Marketing
email?
Greenhouse. Well, I have one unread email. I have 24 emails in my inbox.
Wait, 24 period? Oh, you like
Correct.
delete emails. Kyle does this too. My husband does this.
No, pull it up. Let's tell
I
the
know.
people.
How do you know how many emails you have total?
Oh, see, here we go. Pull up
Like,
your email.
I'm like unread versus, to me, it's like, I only count unread emails.
Oh my God, I'm getting nervous.
You're going to freak out.
Oh,
Hold on. No,
my-
this is my personal. This is like all junk. I mean, my other one's like half junk, but hold on. Let's see. You're going to freak out. I didn't even know you counted like emails, period.
Oh, yeah. I file them.
Oh,
That's
no.
why whenever we're like, oh, we're working on such and such, and I can find something in 3 seconds, you have 8,500 emails. I have 24.
I can't, like,
And your unread is.
well, okay. So
Do you want to tell them or should I?
No, it's 7,500, but that's because most of it's junk. I've gotten really good at like going through and seeing like what's important. I should probably unsubscribe for most of it. See, I give my email out like it's candy though.
No.
I'll give my email out to anyone. Jen won't give her email out.
No,
like,
you have to like take me out to dinner and then I'll think about it.
seriously for anything. Like I'm always like, did you see? She's like, no, I'm not giving my email to them.
No.
So yeah, this is the difference between us. This is why we work so well together.
I know.
But isn't that an interesting concept? Like, I just thought that was like an interesting way to view it. See, so basically they're saying like, I'm doing it right.
It is true. I get more emails than you because
Yes.
I end up responding and then certain clients just find me.
There was a time where I was like trying to be more on top of email a time, maybe like a week, where I was like, okay, I'm going to like really, but like, it didn't even matter. There was no point in doing it because like, I would like jump into an email and like, within 30 seconds, Jen would reply. So it was like, I was like typing and I was like, I think it happened like 3 times and I was like, okay, I give up, whatever. Like I couldn't even get my reply out fast enough.
Yeah.
So weird.
It's a strength of mine.
I was going to say, we all know our strengths.
Mm-hmm. So the moral of the story is to visualize.
Yes, visualize. How to get started. What are some ways?
Oh, so this I wanted to mention because I know that we're going to talk about developing a vision board or writing things out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really important for people to think through how they process information.
Okay.
Like when you told me before we started our podcast that I was going to be in charge of some of the stats, I had to personally go write them out.
Oh, okay.
Like that's how my brain processes.
Yeah.
You can just read things and it like sticks in your brain.
Mm-hmm.
I also am someone who loves to write out my goals
Mm-hmm.
and like physically draw. I literally get like 8.5 by 11 computer paper when I'm trying to like.
Yeah, Kyle loves writing on paper too.
Yeah, like not a notebook.
Yeah,
like paper.
I that's so interesting because like I process everything like in like a more visual way.
Yeah.
I love a vision board. I love a vision board so much, and it's almost like I have to start with that and then work backwards.
Yeah.
To what I want versus like you give me a paper to like write goals out. I'm like, ugh.
So that's why I love this workbook that we created because you can start wherever it feels most appropriate, but it takes you through the whole journey.
Yeah, totally. Have you done vision boarding?
It's not really my thing.
Really?
I like the cutting out of the magazine.
Well, no, you can do it on Pinterest. I think that like I have like them. It's so funny. I have them like for every year, and it's like also funny to see like how much style changes year over year. Like what was on my board last year versus this year and stuff.
Yeah, I'll write out my goals.
So I think Pinterest is actually a great way. And then also I do it sometimes on Instagram, like saved photos. I'll like make a folder that's like vision boarding. I actually think that that's a really great way.
Oh, that is cool. I've
just
done
like
that.
When you're like, oh, I love this, or like, I love this house or this. And then it's easy to also go through and like delete. I think that that's like a very easy way to get started if you're trying to like dip your toes in. Like, what do I want my life to look like? And a lot of these, again, we walk through in the workbook. But yeah, and then do you meditate at all? Like, how do you feel about meditation?
So I've tried.
Mhm.
I particularly like it to fall asleep, but to
Yeah.
sit and meditate, I have a very hard
It's
time.
really hard. I mean, like, that's part of right? Like, it's really difficult. It's literally life-changing for me, and I do it maybe once a month. Like, it
Yeah.
is so good for me and so good for my brain, but, like, even finding, like
I took a class with Tracy years ago
oh,
to
okay.
learn how to do it.
Yeah, like, even finding, like, a minute to do it during the
Yeah.
day, it just feels like I can't slow down. My therapist is, like, forcing me to try more. But I think meditation is great. It's a great way to, like, settle your mind and, like there's so
Yeah.
many good free and we could link some in the show notes. Well, I have some good, free meditations. Kyle pretends to meditate with me at night too to fall asleep, and then he just starts snoring, like, within, like,
Yeah,
10
I'm
seconds.
Kyle.
Yeah, he's like I'm like, "Okay, cool."
Mhm.
Yeah, so I think meditation, a vision board, goals, but again, we walk you through in the personal blueprint program, we walk you through basically all of this, and that's we'll be sharing a lot more about it in the next couple weeks. But I think that, yeah, for now, I
I mean, the
think
easiest way to get started is to download the workbook. It's free.
yeah, totally. And I think that we were talking about like the values, we have like this great list of values and like with short explanations on them. And then the idea is to go through and pick like 5 to 10 and then you take that and like which is so scary, but like compare it to like your calendar for the last couple of weeks and see like have you been living those values at all? And I just think it's like if nothing else, it like gives you a baseline of like
Yeah.
where am I? And I think that sometimes even thinking about doing those things can be very scary because you're like kind of have to face the facts.
Yeah,
Like
I think it's good to have
yeah,
self-awareness.
like face the music, but, I think that that's a great place to start, and we really do love this workbook so much, and
I might make Matt do it with me.
yeah, actually, I was helping Kyle recently, with some, like, personal branding stuff too, and I feel like he should do it too, because I also think you can choose some like, if you have a family, I think, like,
Yeah.
choosing values for your family and yourself, I think that's the other thing, like, those are separate.
Yeah.
And I think that, I talked to Kyle actually, he went through and chose some of the values, like, as for our family, and I was like, "Wow, this is interesting because obviously there's some overlap, but a lot of it is, like" I was like, "I need to have personal values too because that's separate," and, like, I think when you get them conflated, that's also sometimes when it's, like, problematic, right? Like, and you're
Mhm.
not taking time for yourself and, like, thinking of yourself as an individual person. So yeah, download the workbook, get started, and join us back next week, and we will be talking more about personal branding and
Send Jessie an email. You could be one of the 7,500 people in there.
send Jen an email. You'll get a response in 30 seconds. All right, until next time, people. This was fun. Um, go live your best lives. Manifest. Let us know if you manifest anything because of us. What do you think they're going to manifest?
A clean inbox.
I can't manifest that. That's too far.
Thanks for joining us. I promise the next time won't be 1 year later.
Thanks for joining us.